Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the marvelous production we call the Inworld Review. Except last week, it was less than marvelous. I do have to start off offering my apologies. We had a major technical hiccup at my end, and the resulting film, live or whatever,
Oh, just a
has some
second.
very
Okay.
okay. Okay, yeah, sound is okay. I thought we were going to do it again. Yeah, we had a little bit of a sound problem last week, and so it's all fixed again now. But I spent about 10 days recovering from my main workstation that does everything on the media side is a Mac, and it was a Silicon Mac with an M4 chip or something, the latest one. Well, I mean it's a year or more old, but it's the latest actual Mac, and the OS update or something has completely balked it, so it's going to have to go into the Apple store. And fortunately, I have no Mac, my old Mac, but it's taken me 10 days to literally duplicate my desktop from one machine to the other. And the old one here has got less RAM and everything else, but I'm not going to moan at you. I'm just going to offer that as an explanation as to what happened last week, whether it was the electricians around here or whether it was actually a failed Mac update, which didn't affect the other machine. I don't know. But our apologies. We stand embarrassed. Well, I stand embarrassed. Don't know what the other two here. Anyway, yes, having announced my embarrassment, I should announce myself. My name is Mal Burns. This show's the Inworld Review, and we look at people, places, and arts on the Hypergrid. And if you wonder what the Hypergrid is, it's the system that connects all the virtual worlds that are authored with Open Simulator software together. A bit like a sort of massive community of different virtual worlds, all of which are a bit similar in their way to another one you may have heard of called Second Life. But unlike Second Life, these are independent worlds. They're all connected together. And Second Life, of course, is a walled garden. And the only place you can go to is another part of Second Life, if you see what I mean. But all started somewhere. And we still like Second Life sometimes. Okay, so I'm joined here by my right hand man, as the person who actually presses all the knobs, or fiddles with the knobs, as we often say, for the audio and the video and everything else. And occasionally he gets a word in too, don't you, James? James Atlloud. Let me- Right. Okay. Maybe it's just a few technical gremlins whilst we get ourselves up on there again. Anyway, and to my left, of course, is my wonderful co-host Tosha Tyran. Welcome, Tosha.
Hi, thank you, Mel. Hi, James. I
There you
hope
go.
I
Yep.
hope of
Yep.
a few more words on your side, James. Not just next to nothing.
Yeah. Talking to the other side, of course, one of the other things here is that my monitors for the two computers I work with are now the other way round from the way they were for. I keep turning left, expecting to see one thing, and it's actually on the right. But never mind. I'm going to have to get body. It's the body language. I don't know whether any of you experience this with things, but you get used to having things in a certain arrangement for maybe a year or two, or 5 or 10, and you move them around, and your body memory still thinks that you know, that you look left, right, and it's the way it should have been, but of course it no longer is. Oh, isn't virtual life wonderful? Right. Let, let's get on with the show, so to speak. Now, in advance, I will tell you, I'm not quite sure of the situation yet, but I'm going to be featuring, amongst other things, a region I went to earlier today, and I spoke in text with the artist there, the owner there, and I think she is actually going to be in our live YouTube chat. She won't be on the show, and she doesn't speak, if you see what I mean, but she might be in chat and able to reply to anything we say. In fact, if you Synth or Synthetica. Sicario is her name. If you are there, you might like to just say here, so that one of James or Tosha can actually see it, and we know you're there. But maybe. Oh, wonderful! Right, okay. So that bit works. Wonderful to see you. Okay. Welcome to the show, even though you're not. your avatar's not here physically. Okay, so more about that later. You may see, I don't know where James has got a good camera angle here, two sculptures framing the side of our studio here. They're out of the main camera view, but I picked those up from Synthetica earlier today, in fact. They're giant. But when I saw them, I thought they were frames on the wall with the 3D effect coming out. But it needs a awfully big wall because they're giant and they don't resize. Anyway, we'll be coming to you and the film I took for of you in a while, Synthetica. Where we're going to start, of course, on the main screen is our little roundup of the Hypergrid Safari, courtesy of our former presenter, Thursday of the Embers. And basically, I'm moving us quickly to the Hypergrid Safari website, which you'll find at hgsafari.blogspot.com. And amazingly, Thursday's managed to cough up 6 different posts this week as opposed to the old 2. And got some, let me move my viewpoint to check that I'm doing what I think I'm doing. Yeah. And we got some pictures up from here. Oh, yeah. Here we are. This is a post called A Haven for Jimmy. And the Jimmy in question is very fun. He likes his eeps. You've probably heard of us talk about eeps before because it sounds nice to say eep, eep. I keep thinking it's one of our virtual critters, but it's not. It's me making a fool of myself. Right. Anyway, there is Thursday, and she's talking with Jimmy and somebody else on the site. Some fairly brief things there. Let's just see if I click there. That's right. This is the full site. That's the blog. So she has a chat with him. You can read a little bit about him in text there, along with the pictures. That was beginning of the week. Then follow the 2 pictures about Safari that happened this Wednesday, just Wednesday gone by. Every Wednesday at 12 noon in season. First stop was a maze space, going boldly with the Prince of Amour. Prince of Love, that would be, wouldn't it? I don't know about that. And in space. There we are, so the landing, of course. I think that was him, our host, and very much the sci-fi Lord of Love indeed. Right. Oh, yeah. And basically, it all went a bit strange because different people ended up doing different things, but a lot of people were invited to sit in that sort of flying saucer. And then that took off with everybody in it. And it's actually a really giant sort of simulation with, I don't know, 8x8 regions or something. And there's a whole model of the universe in there. And, you know, it's all in the sky, so to speak. And sort of it's down to you, both the host and your own ability to maneuver, actually. I didn't get off on the space, the saucer. I was going to say shuttle for a minute, but I found a sort of jet fighter thing to get in, and I'm greatly going to switch to. This is nearly 90 minutes, and I'm not even going to dare play it because I got in it, and for some reason I was facing backwards all the while, and I was flying around totally aimlessly, and it never seemed to me that the up, down, and arrow key controls were really working at all. And I ended up sort of departing the solar system and ending up in the kind of void. I say the void because of the absence of stars, which were in most of the places. And what I did see, as you can see here, got to the rings of Saturn at one point, and then, yes, that was Jupiter. You just saw a bit of it there. After Jupiter, I don't really know much of what happened. Eventually, I just stood up in the middle of outer space and teleported back to the place we started in. But it was all fun and games, and I've never been very good with vehicles in the virtual world, well, or in the real world for that matter. So not really much to show. I'm certainly not going to show you 18 minutes of my chaos this week. So moving back to the blog, what more pictures we've got here. these are the folks that were in the saucer, I guess. They didn't include me because I was too busy in my jet ship or whatever it was. But they're just standing there, and it seems to me like they're actually going round the rings of Saturn. So they've travelled out that far at least. Um, you know, it looks like, oh, there it is. Right. I think that must. Oh well, this is certainly where we started. This bit. This isn't the whole thing. Isn't. It's like a saucer shape, but these little hatches here have. Oh, I've got feedback again coming through somebody's mic. I don't know. Yeah, it was a bit delayed. Yeah, so there were ships in there that he invited various people to take, and I don't know what that lit up area is. It might have been the process of the flying saucer taking off. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, there's one of the little jet fighters framed against what I presume is a moon there, and that looks rather Star Trekky. I'm sure you agree. Another close up of people in the flying saucer. Oh, again, there is good old Saturn. This bit, well, there are the rings, and there's a few moons, but I don't know what this is here. It doesn't look very planetary, does it? There we are. I know when it does these animated GIFs, you know, they just go around in circles for a while, and sometimes they say it better than any still picture could. Of course, nothing beats actually going and visiting these places, I hasten to add. So you will find hgsafari.blogspot.com, you will find with all these posts there's the landmark that you can click to go where you need to go. Something tells me that might be some what they call the red planet. You think? It's funny. Is it? Oh, okay. Oh, Venus is pretty hot too. Actually, yes, because it's not. Yeah, Mars is much more neutrally. Yeah. Yeah, Venus. They're discovering all sorts of things about Venus now, apparently. Oh, I don't know what that. What kind of a mess of a planet is that? There's blue bits and green bits and nuclear explosions and never mind. Yes, it's
I just think it was a really exciting trip. I really loved it. This feeling that you're really traveling through space was
yeah,
pretty realistic.
yeah. I should really have gone on the guided tour instead of thinking because he did say, well, if you don't want to come into that, there's plenty of ships you can take around here. And I thought, well, I'll just get in one and I'll fly around the universe. Like the old Fireball XL5 song, if you're old enough to remember that. Flies around the universe and Fireball XL. But puppeteering. Yeah. But unfortunately, I did have to do it my own way and regretted it. So. Moving on, oh, that is a fiery inferno. That must be a close up of Venus. And here's the crew here down again. I think they had actually landed, but I, of course, was still lost in the outer limits of border of the solar system, I think, until I jumped out of the spaceship and teleported back. God, you can cheat in space, can't you? There we go. Oh yeah, this is where we were landing. That middle bit is where it seems enclosed, but the flying saucer actually takes off through there. So there's an opening, so it just goes straight up and out. These are the various constructs in space around it, and then of course you're heading up to all these other ships around, and then beyond that to the various planets. It's as Tosha says, it's really quite remarkable, especially if you take the guided version. There's a Pixel, Pixel. She also films. I haven't seen her film with this. She films with her interface on and with the chat room open and things when we're on Safari. And she was. That looks like she's up on the roof there doing some filming. And look at those. We're way down below the others. Galactic Truck Stop. Well, it's all science fiction, isn't it? It's like those 50s movies. Maybe. And yeah, I don't know who this is. It's not our host. It's presumably somebody of that ilk. Okay, moving on to the next one. The next stop wasn't really a safari stop at all. Well, it was, but High Times and High Tunes. HIE stands for the Hypergrid International Expo, which is something we, both Cesar and I, and James and Cesar and a couple of other people are actually involved with. And it's not till next April, but we're working well ahead, really. And we basically pulled the people from Safari into a little dance thing here. only a couple of pictures, and the idea was to stress test it, so everybody was told to wear lots of noisy stuff and lots of prim heavy stuff and everything else and try and crash the sim. And unusually for Safari, they didn't stand it. They didn't. It didn't even blink. So many regular safaris just go down. You end up going down with the ship. This didn't seem to be at all bothered with particles or anything. It was a highly successful stress test. Okay, then 3 more posts this week from Thursday since then. This is Weekend with Winks, which is Bloom Peters. He's been on this show, in fact, with that wonderful musical machine, in fact. Um, and her Funfairs scripts, Castles Mesh and Wickstropia, of course. This is sort of a private safari, as it were, a Weekend with Wings. And these are on her regions. There's actually 2 parts to this. The next blog is Weekend with Wings Part 2, which is, you'll see in a minute. All these wonderful moving characters around here. They're not meant to be realistic, but it's so crowded. It looks like a bit like a children's playground, doesn't it? It's sort of,
Yes, it does.
yeah. Um, Yeah, so not nice to see that there is Thursday, of course, and there is Winks. So well, that's Bloom in person. That's the best way of putting it. And yeah, loads of stuff I'd like to have joined in that, but I think it was a private visit, and I think most of these characters you're seeing here are not real human inhabited avatars. They're actually NPCs, or more like the Animesh, basically. And buttons you can press, and boy, girl food, male food, girl order. I don't know, weird stuff. I love the colours. It's very totally unrealistic. It's like some cartoon, but I don't know. I can barely describe it. A lot of pink, of course, makes you think of that. Oh, I forget what it's called now.
Why, of course.
Barbie was what I was thinking. Yeah, but yeah, no, I love the nice stuff there, and yeah, a bit more to show. Chasing around there in the old hot rods jet ski. No, it's a jet ski. It's on water, isn't it? It's very dark. You can't see that one that easily. And yeah, long shot of the build there. Big contrast to that fairy tale looking sort of foreground where we've been seeing, and then this sort of high tech, sort of like human structure background. I don't know. Anyway, Weekend at Winks Part 2 followed there, and Bloom is actually saying she created a special viewer for series creators it's got a custom Firestorm that allows you to upload Insanity Mesh. Ha ha. I don't know whether that is a joke or not. Anyway, the pictures that go with this one are much more concerned with the not the people and the partying and the fairy tale stuff, but actually the serious mesh building, which would be presumably, I think she authors mostly in Blender, or grab stuff from wherever. So this is a totally different look. Oh well, it was for a minute. Looks like we're back to fairy tale land. And oh yeah, she's actually, these illustrate the blog. She's talking about the color palettes that they use and things. And yeah, there you go. It's quite nice. I'm not so. She posted on Facebook about having just got that and just done it, and I thought, oh, she has done it, hasn't she? I think that's more effective, the contrast between a foreground and a background. But this castle build almost seems like it's too much. I don't know. It's sort of it's pretty big. There we are. Thursday showing off again with Bloom and Thursday. Sounds like a duo, doesn't it? Okay, and finally, as I said, she did 6 this week. Sights and Sore Eyes was the one she published this morning. And actually, this is one of her editorial things about how to mute sounds and how to kill particles and things, and learning how to use the viewer really. So it's aimed at, I won't say newbies, far from it, but oh, okay, I think that's the only picture. Must be. Oh no. Oh right, that's the other. Yeah, that's the other blog. Okay, yeah. So it's yeah. She talks about how you can mute particles, how you can mute people, and how you can do stuff in preferences, and how there's other things you can set up that don't take effect to your relog and so on. But basically, how to take care of nuisances, be it a part of the environment that is too heavy for you to cope with, or the people, the griefers, shall we say. Yes, they do exist. They do exist. Okay, so I'm now moving back into. Here we are. That is Safari over, really. I showed you my turbo fly. Okay, one little before we move on to our remote guest is there we are. Where am I? Here we are. One little film. Michael McHugh, who also films a lot of the Arrest Fest things of time. He's just done this little film. This from Catronia Archipelago. This is in Kitely. Well, Kitely is one of the virtual worlds that is on the Hypergrid. Slightly unusual world, but we won't go into that. But this is just a short film.
Well, that looks pretty dangerous.
Yeah. I love it. This theme music. I think when I actually heard it, I realised the song that goes with it is "What do we do with the drunken sailor? What do we do with the drunken sailor?" And well, alcohol on ships is par for the course, I think. But do you really want the pilots of your boat to be drunk? I don't know. And up goes the tempo. I don't actually know this. I don't know whether James or even Tosha would, but Kitely is an unusual world because unless anybody's in the region, it disappears and it only gets reloaded on the server when people arrive. And when it comes to regions, I've always thought that is sort of fine. But this area on film here looks like it's bigger than a single region, and I wonder if it means they have to bring up multiple regions at a time. Anyway, good to see Michael filming something. So there we are. Right now, okay. You'll see this again a little bit later, but I'm now going to talk about the region I went to earlier. Basically, there's an exhibition that's called Splart. I love that name, actually. It's got a ring to it, hasn't it? And the exhibit and image grab will be opening soon, it says there, but I gather from what she told me this morning that is sometime this week. I don't know exactly what day, unless she wants to put that in chat for us. And all of the images will be available to take if you so desire. So it's the region we're talking about here. To get to it, it's http:// as it were. Then in the map, especially, you type next life. That's NEXTLIFE dot hopto HOPTO dot me. And then colon, of course, the port number. And this is important. The port number on this grid is 13002. Right? 13002. Bit unusual, that. Followed by another colon. And then the region is called the Shards. Looks like there's a space between the and Shards. So that's actually will take you to the whole mega gallery complex, which we're going to see. I'm going to run the film. Well, I'm going to run the film now. Um, Basically, I'll invite James and Tosha to comment as we'll walk it as they see it on film. And if we've got any queries, I hope maybe that Synthetica in the YouTube chat will actually be able to sort of basically Synthetica, feel free to type into chat, and then we'll be able to pick it up and repeat it on air if needed. So this is when I arrived at it. This is 5.5 minutes. This one, and it's basically my first experience before I contacted Synthetica. I just looked at that and thought, well, there's a gallery, and there's a lovely, huge character in here. But you'll see it. You'll see it as the movie unfolds. So let me go. Yeah. And I know, Tosha, galleries are one of your favourite things, aren't they? So I thought this is made for you.
No, but it looks quite fantastic. I've been there, but just a moment because I got a little late, and it looked quite fantastic indeed.
It's only when you start zooming in with your camera you realise just how giant this thing is. All these characters here, I think, are actually NPCs. There weren't any live avatars except the owners online at the time. And of course, it's all glass, and of course, coloured glass too. But I don't know how much you know about filming cameras and things, but you can go through objects and things. But when you get collisions of colours, you think, oh, can't see it anymore. But all those levels you can see there, they're just. There is another gallery that this reminded me of, less colourful, that I went to, and I kept falling down. If you stepped off the path, it was a void, and you travelled down about 20 stories. But fortunately, here everything is nice and solid, so it might look, translucent and slightly dangerous, but it's not. You can just walk on the different levels. In fact, you would have to work for that, or I couldn't get the camera into there beyond the entrance. I would have to have walked to that. So it appears that different parts of this huge exhibit are sort of different themes. It's a group of creators and things like that. But some of it is sculpture, some of it's art, some of it's clothing. Although Synthetica did say something about clothing being art. Oh yes, and this woman, this statue of a woman, is colossal. She has the height of that whole building. So what's the movie where with the giant woman that's higher than the tallest skyscraper? It's a bit like that.
50-foot woman.
Yeah. I think a 100-foot woman in this case, probably. Very punky looking too. She's got that wonderful dark eyelashy eye makeup around her eyes, but which I always find attractive and not menacing at all. But go figure. So yeah, that's way above her, in fact. So that hand is actually coming out from the very top of that building, and it's well, as you can see, there's just masses of stuff in there. And I gather almost everything here is like free to buy for nothing, or take copies of, and things like that. I think there are some things later on the lower floor, the exhibition, the part that opens on the underwater during the week. Some of those have yet to be set for copying and stuff. Am I right, Synthetica? It's midweek this week. The opening is. I think you told me. I've forgotten.
Oh, it is not officially opened yet. The gallery.
No, the main gallery you see here is, I gather, but the bit the splash exhibition, which is on the ground floor, and underwater, that opens this week. Whereas this bit is open already. I think I've got that right. I'm relying on Synthetica in chat to correct me if I've got anything wrong.
Synthetica commented, "We have donations into the clothing collective from other creators. Clothing
Yeah.
or Cothing. It's got a capital C, Cothing Collective."
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, close it. Okay, got you. No K's hanging around there, right. Uh, yeah, I found my chat was, so I said, she said it will open next week and it's got its own area underwater. So, what day, probably sometime this week or maybe next weekend, that means.
She's replied to your question earlier. She says, "All are available now, but the images for the exhibit are still being uploaded. So it will all be hopefully be open by this coming weekend."
Right. Okay. Now, the other thing that we found there is, well, we'll come, actually, it's probably more appropriate. Um, No, I'll wait for this film because it looks like I can't remember how you pronounced it actually. The little magazine they've launched a magazine which includes a two-part interview. Actually, I finally read it of Synthetica, and talking about the exhibit, but also the region in general and herself. You know, as a avatar and a person, and very interesting, good stuff there. And I think Synthetica mentioned to me earlier that they might actually start the magazine itself as a kind of monthly thing. Unfortunately, you have to when you pick it up, which you, as far as I know, you can only pick it up on this region at the moment. You have to wear it as a heads-up display, so you can't resize it and you can't get it as a PDF. So it's entirely in-world experience. Um, but yeah, I was racking my brains when I saw this, and it's very much a sort of slightly publicity oriented first issue for this. But there have been quite a few of these flipboard type magazines about virtual worlds and stuff that have been available either in world or even as PDFs as well. But there haven't been that many recently. I don't know about the ones in the other place, Prim Perfect and things, but we could really use some, decent new media in world. We got our occasional films and chat shows like this, but good old fashioned magazine. You can smell the ink on it. Well, maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe not.
Mel, one question, please. Is Synthetica, is she listening to us, or do we have to type every
No,
time
no,
we have a
no,
question to her?
no. She can hear us. She's listening to us, but she'll type the reply basically.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, if I say Synthetica type, she T
Oh,
Y.
okay. Thank you, Synthetica. That is good to know. Uh, We don't have to type every question and every reply.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I should have introduced you, Synthetica, this is Tosha Tyran. You probably heard the intro at the beginning. My co-host and very very productive in World Two. And James, of course, is our tech guy, the right-hand man on the film, which is how come we're cross-connecting via chat with you. It looks like that film stopped. I'm so busy concentrating. Okay, I've got two more. Right. Okay, I'm going to be jumping on this film. This is a bit of film that I'd sort of clicked twice and it was recording and I didn't realize it at the very beginning. But this starts with a bit more of upstairs. And that's right. Now, at the time, Synthetica and her partner were up in the sky somewhere. I couldn't get anywhere near them, but I sent them a message. And yeah, at that point, so you can see me very unprofessionally here scrolling through. Okay, we got to this point, and then this is Synthetica as her avatar joining me, and this is her partner who I don't think at any point actually raced into camera for me. Well, I think it is. Um, but I guess we were just standing talking for this bit. Well, not actually talking, but texting. Yeah, here we go. And you see, she vanishes, and basically, she's now teleported me down to the ground, which is where the exhibition we're talking about that opens this week is actually down there. It's got I forgot it again. It's underwater basically, but underneath that main sort of gallery, and it's got splash. No, slash. Or splat. I've got it. The main exhibit here, by the way, is there seems to be this clothing collective, and that is the one she was just mentioning in chat that has not been is not fully aboard
Oh,
yet.
yeah. Yep.
I sort of took some of those costumes, and of course they're mostly female. It's mostly the case in OpenSim or every other virtual world. Costumes for
So,
men.
Mal, Synthetica says when you introduced her partner's name is Fergus.
Fergus, that's right. Well,
That's right.
Fergus, Fergus in Scottish.
Yeah, and then she's mentioned that the name might be Splart instead of Splat. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
a splash. Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Large,
Okay.
yes.
It's because of the splashes of paint. I mean, I haven't quite, it
Okay.
hasn't all quite registered at short notice here. Yeah, Splat. Yeah, no, I like Splat. I love the name. No wonder I'm forgetting it. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, I got my avatar actually walking here and there at the end, maneuvering around. It's quite dark. I think that's the effect of having it underwater. It doesn't feel underwater. You don't see the texture of the water really, but you're sort of aware that um, it's somewhere else. And there's Synthetica again. Oh, if you, it's very early for Halloween yet, a month away. But as with many places, Halloween has entered, and you've got a complete Grim Reaper unisex avatar that you can pick up there if you want to. This is in the landing area for the thing. At the moment, you can't walk from the main building down into the underground bit. As I found out, you have to TP. But whether that will be the case when it opens, I'm not sure. So yes, a little bit of background. I mean, if you pick up the magazine that she's got there, you can actually learn quite a lot about Synthetica herself. By reading that magazine. In real life, she's Canadian born and Scottish blood. She's on my time zone, by the way, in Scotland here, which is not London. It's quite a long way up north, but it's the same time zone. Yes, very good. It's the UK, in it. Wonderful. Um, Okay, and oh yeah, now the other thing to warning here, which she did point out to me, is that the grid normally goes off at about 1 in the morning GMT, that's British time. Basically, the grid is up and running while she's awake, but when she goes to sleep, the grid gets powered down. So, any of you out there from, say, America, should bear in mind that. Hang on, what 1 in the morning for us is yeah, it's about 5 p.m. in the States, isn't it? Yeah, West Coast. Yeah, so bear in mind it's on English daytime, so to speak. What else did I make a note of here? Do feel free to comment, Tosha, James, as you're looking at the images as we are. I'm just scrolling through my notes here to see if there's anything I should be mentioning.
Yeah, once again in chat, Synthetica mentions the gift is from Sharing is Caring Grid.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
thinking maybe that's the Grim Reaper avatar.
Oh,
Is that
could well be.
is
Yeah.
that it? Okay.
Yeah, we've been to Sharing and Caring quite a few, I think twice on Safari, in fact, so we're familiar with them.
Yep. Synthetica confirmed.
Oh, and the magazine, by the way, is on our table in the studio, but it's actually called, I can remember it, Satire. Now, this is what I think, correct me with one, I got this wrong, but it looks like it's SAATTIRE. In other words, the word satire, but with an extra A and an extra T. I'm not sure the reasoning in that. And actually, according to my notes, it says issue 7, October 24. So maybe it's not the first issue. I don't know why I thought it was. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so the grid is actually on roughly 16 hours a day. And if I'm right, Synthetica, you do actually self-host it, which is the reason basically it comes up, in your actual hours, so to speak.
Synthetica just said, it is the first issue, Mal, but it's numbered 7 for luck. I like that.
Oh, I love it when people
Yeah.
confuse me like this. Here I
It's
am
funny
thinking,
indeed.
Yeah.
I'm talking nonsense about first issues and things. Love it, love it. Oh, it's a good job you didn't number it number 13, I suppose, isn't it? The Halloween special. Unlucky for some. Right, okay. Now, my final slot of film here, as it were, Shards 3. Here we are. This actually starts off where that last one finished. Um, Here we go. Yeah, so you've got the poster in the air, is it, when you enter. Non-profit, displayed as intended by the creators, working to promote unity, etc. in OpenSim. And yeah, the clothing side of it seems to be the main feature here.
Mal, about the magazine, Synthetica commented, the first 6 issues were too naughty to publish.
I don't know how much of it was the guy who interviewed you and who he was or something, but I didn't even quite get the interview's in 2 parts, and there's a sort of quite long interview at the beginning, and then there's a few other things added into the magazine. Then it comes back to the second part, and the suggestion is that you both took time off to smoke a joint. And 10 joints later, you suddenly realised the mic was still running or something. I thought that was hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So it's quite irreverent, but quite amusing. The magazine itself. So it's quite a serious interview, but it's got these sort of interesting don't know how to describe it really. Sort of things thrown in, a little bit insolent and sort of jokey without being sort of downright comedic. Anyway, I'd like to see it go on actually, because you also had the magazine had an interview also with I've forgotten now. I know her well as well. The musician. She's been on the show, I think. Yeah. Yeah, somebody we know well from Safari and things like that. A name I've completely forgotten all of a sudden, but she's also interviewed in the same magazine. So, yeah, as you see, I'm going round in circles a little bit down here. Actually, it's all sort of fairly closed in, so it's probably all one level. Although I like the design of this little balcony where you land and then you go down the steps into the lower level where the exhibits are. Sort of all these touches, make as in the upstairs bit, they're just it's not just the size of the building or the glass or everything else like that. There's a whole sort of everything blending together conveniently, and yeah, I think I'm revisiting the same places. I'm sure there's a man's costume in there somewhere. I'm going to go back and get that. No, me, I probably clicked on a leotard or something and found it in my inventory later. And the bubbles here. Yeah, they are very nice costumes too, so I can actually sort of see that sort of, you look at, yeah, there's an example of one that hasn't been set up yet, but I'm sure they are all free to take, or will be when it opens.
Mal, Fergus has joined, and
Oh,
he
lovely.
says
Welcome.
the name you were thinking of is Kashi. Is that true?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Kashi Takaska. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So there's an interview with her in the magazine too, which is nice. Yeah. Kashi Takas.
Takashi.
Yeah, I think,
Taka.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We've, I think, well, yeah, we know well from Safari and things. I think we've had her perform and things. So
Thank you, Fergus. Takahishi.
Takeshi, right?
Takahishi.
The other thing I've actually, oddly enough, oh no, this is your own server, isn't it? Yeah, no, never mind. I was reading OS Grid here and everything. I'm going on to Inworld and sort of browsing around for new regions and things. I was actually astonished at how many of them are on OS Grid, where our studio is, of course. I keep scribbling down the address and then realizing that hang on, it's a region name, and oh crumbs, I forgot to check the grid. But most of the time, there seems to be OS Grid anyway, so. That's how it goes. Right, okay. So I've actually, what I did is there's no other way of doing it, although I could actually screenshot each of the pages. But what I did here is I've actually made a version of the magazine here, right, as a video. So you can't really read it, but you can actually get the idea. That's it's in the studio here, if you see what I mean, as a heads-up display. So that's the cover, and normally you will click around here to go to the next page, but in the video version, I have to do that myself. There we go. So you can sort of see what it looks like while we're chatting. This is just the... we hope to shed some light on the dark corners of the multiverse. Well, that's something, isn't it? Some insights into both motivation and purpose that drives the actions of our many diverse and, well... residents, if that's the word. Yeah, so here we are, Splart. Yeah, got that right. Nice logo. This artwork, you'll find out about this in the interview. Obviously, I can only pick up little things here. That picture you saw there is very typical of Synthetica's own works, I think. But those, I believe, they've got that look of the AI thing, Mid-Journey. In them, and I think you actually made some comments about using AI as a sort of tool, and how bad some of it is. I mean, basically, you've got to think of the prompt you give the AI as a kind of brush, and you have to know how to make your brush in order to get the result from the AI. I think I've got that sort of right, haven't I, Synthetica? It's a bit hard quoting things from a very short time ago. That inspiration is a random occurrence, like a flickering light that can stay dark for long periods or shine brightly or just come in flashes. There you go. A muse is a person I connect with on an emotional level that helps me focus, and she's talking about focus here, I believe. Right, and of course, just as I was reading it, it changes pages, but what the hell. Right, there they are again. As far as collaborations go, I do want to talk about what we're doing, but many of our collaborators wish to remain in the shadows. That's the center page spread, I guess, the close-up of that picture. That is very evocative, actually. I presume that is blood on the face, and that's part of the cue. Right, this is this is freedom to speak your mind. That's something editorial. There we are, and then the images we've just been seeing again. Exclusive images. You won't find them anywhere else, I guess, except in the gallery, maybe. Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah, this is something rather different. Something about Christmas and humility. Yeah, I didn't fully read this. I was too anxious to fast forward and get to the stuff about Synthetica herself. So, yeah. Okay, I'll quickly flip through that when I get to wherever the next page was. It's funny reading a magazine in video form. There we are. This is, right. Robbie Channing, that's the name of the interviewer here, apparently. And this is where the interview actually sort of continues. By this time, it's got a bit more sort of personal and in-depth, as it were. Sort of, and yeah, again, not being in the studio, I can't really talk to you easily about this, but I gathered I wonder if I knew I was also in the Great Canadian Grid for a while when Roddy started it. And I noticed you mentioned that somewhere, although, and you also mentioned about problems with an unnamed grid. I don't know. Well, don't know whether that was the same thing. Uh, but I know you've actually had, you've had various different experiences with different kinds of avatars, and one of the reasons, presumably, that your new home, as it were, is quite remote, is to avoid, what do you call them? Males in skirts. Yeah, I think that was it. Your encounters basically with, the huge. Oh, there you are. That's the interview with Kashi. Um, with basically female artist avatars who actually are not female at all. And you did have some comments on that, but I think people can come and pick up this magazine as well and sort of read more about it in depth.
It really looks fascinating, but it definitely needs more time to, to read it and to really grab what's written
Yeah. Well,
than just
you Tosha and
bit
Jason,
of you.
but I think you can both keep a copy of the one that's on the table here, actually, and
Mm,
put it on your hand to read it later.
mm.
Yeah, so wonderful. With today's show happening, had to organise things, so I didn't spend as long in there chatting as I could have done. But a lovely visit, and it's always great to see art galleries that aren't just galleries with the art in it, but the gallery itself is a piece of art. I think that's the best way I can put it. That lovely, the architecture is an art an art piece in itself. So, it's well done, Synthetica. I mean, I was really impressed, as you probably gathered, and shame
No,
shame
can't
we
copy
couldn't
it.
get you on to talk, but never mind. Maybe silence is golden sometimes, especially when the message is in the art and things. So,
And
yeah.
Synthetica says a big thank you in chat.
And a quick look here at some of the AI
Yeah,
pictures. Yeah, I love these pictures. They remind me of Tank Girly sort of, the kind of Tank Girl
Yep, yep.
comics and things, that sort of thing. And then of course this advert from the magazine anyway. So yeah, next life, or one word hop2 me colon 13002 colon the shards. And you won't be disappointed. You should be able to spend half a day or something there, and that's just even without the underwater bit open yet. You could probably spend half a day there. There's loads of stuff up there.
well, I tell you, this exhibition really just screams for a visit, for a long, thorough visit.
Yeah, yeah.
I knew it would be your cup of tea, Tosha, especially as well. And it is. It's on safari and things we do a lot of art stops and things, but this one is the whole combination of the venue and the content is just really special here. And it's nice to it's nice to see it because I know I think Synthetica said her partner was a bit publicity shy rather than
Well,
a
I,
camera
I
shot.
would I would like to ask Cynth a couple of things if you allow me.
Yeah, sure, you carry
Oh,
on.
okay, okay. Well, one of the things that I would really be interested to know is, do you have an RL artistic background, or are you just in
Virtual.
a virtual artist?
I'm trying to think what she said in the interview. I Yeah, I think she keeps the two separate, but whether she actually does art in the real world, I don't know.
She
Okay,
says
she
that.
says.
Yep.
Okay, read it. No, no, no. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. She replied Tasha and says, "I've been drawing and painting since I was a child. AI art is just an extension."
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because you do such fascinating things that the little I've seen, because I've been only to your place only like 5 minutes, and I had to come to the show. But it's so fascinating that I can't even imagine how one can, think of such expressive things to make. Well, I'm not very artistic, that's true, but I just can't even imagine. Some of the things are just hilarious, and some of them are really threatening to. I mean, they give me the impression from the few pictures that I saw, and I think that's really,
Yeah,
really fascinating.
the other thing I heard mentioned in the interview, I don't know whether you were, how serious you were about this when you were talking about your art, but you were talking about like splashing paint and literally rolling around with your body in the art. Although I can't see the traces of this in what I see here, but I thought that was quite intriguing, like sort of, not, extending. I can't quite do it. I can try and visualize it now. I'll probably put my foot in it, somebody jumping in mud or something. But I know artists who work with big canvases often sort of take a big brush, like a brush you paint wall with, and splatter and things, and they've got the art of the splattering down to a fine art. So as it builds up, you really start seeing form in it. And I was quite intrigued. I mean, were you joking in that bit of the interview about rolling like your body in the paint, or what? Are you seriously did any work like that?
Well, why she replies to that also, Mel, she does say that weed is important. Weed, in terms of
Yeah, yeah,
marijuana, and it
yeah,
helps her explore my inner fears and take ideas to the extreme.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure when I mentioned that earlier whether I should, but yeah,
Yep.
it's it's a well-known way of exploring our creativity and other things too. But yeah, it's definitely a catalyst for that. And yeah. Anyway, I think we'll move on. We can still talk. You can see. I haven't actually got the YouTube chat open. I've got the virtual world and my broadcast desktop open. No room for anything else. But you can keep me informed if there's any more conversation here. Um, I'm going to complete the show because, as you know, a few weeks ago we were meant to have this chap Driscus come on from Zone Nations, and since he agreed to come on, which was meant to be, yes, it was meant to be last week, I think, and then fortunately we were saved by what's the name? Um,
Mel, excuse me that I interrupt, but Sid has written a funny and interesting comment to your question about that if she's actually rolling her body in the paint.
oh yeah,
She
oh,
says,
wait.
"Yes, I have, and the how I leave to your imagination."
Love it, love it.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, it's sort of it's it's tools of the trade, isn't it? To put it formally, you can what tools you use. Use your whole body. I
Right.
mean, in a way, think of it as some of the not as messy or as fun maybe, but some of these artists who started working, a few years ago with tilt brush in the VR helmet land. They had this special paint program where they were painting in 3D, and basically, to use it, you had to move your body in the helmet to make the cues to do the artwork, and it was unusual, but it would be, wouldn't it? Right.
Fergus wrote, "It's not called splart for nothing." Yeah, now I start understanding the word too. It's funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've
Splash
I've
art.
seen a long time ago a movie about or a documentation about an artist. I have no idea of his name anymore, but he worked mostly with blue. And he's a German artist, but I came across him in Spain. And he had actually models that he rolled in paint, in blue paint. And then he made prints of them, of their bodies, on huge sheets of paper. And then, hopefully, with the models gone away, he started with fire and make, with flames to make, to burn the paper in parts. And it was absolutely interesting. And I'm really sorry I lost the name somewhere. It's really, because I came across him in an exhibition in a museum in Barcelona. And first, when I went into the exhibition, I thought, well, it was called Blue, the exhibition, and I went in there and I said, blue, blue. Well, everything. The first thing was all blue, and then I really got to grasp it. He had pictures, well, paintings that were just blue, but it was such an intense blue, such a special blue, and it got me absolutely fascinated. So I was thinking about this painter the whole time, and I'm going to look up the name, and maybe I can find it out.
Right.
I think he was one of those experimental painters of well, long time ago. I think he must be long dead.
Yeah.
And there was a while that I used blue with everything because it had fascinated me so much. But I never got, to make a blue such as he did. Of course not.
I got a reputation for purple.
Oh, really?
Partly because I'm a bit colorblind actually, so I think I always think of purple as a sort of bit of a blue. But yes, so that back in the other place, people used to call me the purple one or something because I always wore this purple shirt or whatever. This film we're watching, by the way, is just playing while we're chatting. This is a grid called Zone Nations. And the guy there, Druckus, he's been vanished for the last couple of weeks. The regions are still there, fine. But he was meant to be coming on, but I seem to have lost touch with him. So I'm just running this film so that, if you like what you see here, you can go over. Again, very kind of arty thing. And again, there were quite a lot of freebies here, if I remember. But yeah, I remember picking up various things. There's a scarecrow and things here. Just sort of, no, not any vast sort of thing. In fact, I think really it's down to sort of two regions I was filming there. I'm not wholly sure how expansive Zone Nations as a grid is. But they're fairly well known. Their name comes up now and again. Maybe Maria can tell me what position they are in the charts. Odd place to put a bedroom on that rickety old. Well, maybe it's a self-contained sort of mobile home thing on the water. So while we got her in chat in the channel. Synthetica, we're busy watching this extra pictures now. Anyway, do you? I know you're fairly sort of solitary from what you said, but I mean, do you get around a bit? Have you ever been on hypergrid safaris, or do you travel to other grids for inspiration or whatever? I mean, obviously, from the exhibition, we know you've been in touch with some other grids, but do you get around a bit? Is what I'm asking. Or do you much prefer being in your own regions, just getting on with your own thing?
You want to read that one, Tosha?
The reply.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Synthetica replies, Mal, I used to travel a lot, but building means less now. I still visit favorite places. Yeah.
Well, and Sherry has joined a while ago, also here in the chat, and she And she said she gave me some hints who might be this mysterious
The blue period, right?
artist that I was talking about.
Ah,
So I will follow up these hints, and thanks a lot to Cherry. And
I went earlier on today to something that was predominantly cherries, but I think it's only been up for about 4 days or something. I think it's something she's working on for something else. I could tell immediately it was hers, but there was nobody there when I went. But I thought this is new cherry region, I think. Well, wonderful, wonderful stuff.
well, anyways, I'm every time we go on safari or every time we're here on the show, I'm amazed more and more and more how many wonderful people we have, in OpenSim. There are more or less famous or more or less known to me, but practically, well, they just got me speechless,
Yeah.
and every time seems to be another huge discovery.
I think
So
it is because I mean, a lot of people who maybe have been elsewhere before, I won't say where, but have come to OpenSim because for creative reasons, and they kind of like just having their region, huge areas, and just getting on with building or their art or whatever. And as Synthetica said, you pop out now and again and see what's happening, but you've got so much creative stuff to do. You tend to, it's like an artist in the real world stays in their studio, you know, 6 days a week, 265 days a year or something. Just goes out to get the food. Whereas other people are here simply because they can travel around the hypergrid and see all this stuff. But there is communication here is not the best. Sort of like discovering Synthetica's region today. Really, it's just quite random. A link in OpenSim World, I think, and then a link from there to something. And there's I don't know how you would really discover some of these places where they don't do the PR and don't necessarily want to. They just want to um, immerse themselves in their own magic, if you see what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
Certainly, this was the case with this one that we're looking at now. It didn't seem to. It had a bit of everything for anyone, sort of thing, but it didn't have an. It was nice, as you can see, but it didn't have an overall sort of. Um,
Yeah, but Mel, I think it's like with everything. Very many things that you discover, you just discover by chance.
yeah,
And it's not only in open sim that way, it is also in real life that way,
yeah,
actually. Because, and also in open sim, you have so much information about the different things, the different places that it drives you crazy. You cannot follow all of them. And it is, well, every one of us, I think, gets a little bit some favorite places and some favorite things. And as we are all a little lazy, actually, I think humans are a little lazy.
yeah.
And
This, I,
so you have a tendency to stay with those favorite places and favorite people and the around. And that's why I think what you do or what we're doing here in the Inworld review, and also what Thirsa does with the Safari, is so important because it gives new impulses, it gives new insights, it gives new ideas and new ideas to travel and to go and see. And I think that is absolutely fascinating.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we endeavour to fill the gap. Oh, pardon me, I'm croaking.
Yeah, your mouth is turned off also, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that cough must have done it.
It's got a mind of its own, that the old mouth. toggle to talk, yes, and I started up again. Maybe I'll just time out. There's probably a script running here in OpenSim that says you just talk too much. If you carry on, we're gonna seal your lips. This reminds me of Cherry's stuff as well. It may indeed be hers. Actually.
Sherry just mentioned only Thirsa manages to discover all, but she's so natural.
Yeah, I don't know where all these new places to go to. Although, I mean, I struggle finding places to get people to go. Well, it's a bit different if you want somebody to
Yeah,
come.
but not only that, Thirsa discovers new things and old things and rediscovers, she also remembers everything. You
Yes,
know,
that is.
that's really absolutely out of this world. You know.
I mean, Cersei used to have, and I'd forgotten this. She used to have a blog in the other place when the other place was the only place really, called SL Arts. No, arts. Oh God, I forgot. It was like It was an arts blog basically, and I read it. I subscribed to it. I posted it in the Inworld media things over there, and it never clicked. When I met Thursday here, that I knew of her indirectly over there because I knew the blog, but I didn't really know the name behind it. The same with Not Possible in Real Life. It turns out I did know the real person behind that blog, and I never knew that. I just knew the avatar's name. Um, but yeah, but she can still remember, all the locations and things. That must have been 10, 15 years ago when she was doing that blog, and she can still remember all the locations she covered. And yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of
Sherry just says about Thirsa, she's a Chat GPT bot.
Funny.
Yeah.
She's going to get a bad reputation. Slow down, slow down. They'll think you're a machine. I'm trying to think where we were. I'm on the second bit of film from Stone Nations here, so I think there were two separate bits, and this was the other bit. Um, like a lot of work, for somebody when I talked to him, he seems so keen to come on the show, and then 2 weeks later, I haven't heard a thing. But it's clearly worked a lot on this. I believe he had some tangential involvement with us on the Hypergrid International Expo, although I may be wrong about that. But I don't know, interesting. Yeah, and he's. I think this is all giveaway stuff as well. So if you need props for studios and things like that, a great place to go and get them. And I don't think it was here, but the other week I think I probably mentioned on a previous show. I found somebody at a huge warehouse kind of building. They were giving away motion capture animations that were actually specially made for bento avatars. So I was picking them up like my mesh avatar is a sort of bento one, and I was just picking them up in World. I was showing some off on Safari during the week. Motion capture can be very good. Oops, that's something else. Where is animations? There we are. Igor Dance Originals Charge. Laddie Dance. You get the idea. I'm about to stand up so James James can film all these
Yeah.
motion capture avatars. And some are better than others, but they're useful because they do have real likeness to. Oh, actually, one is playing now, and I'm still sat. Why is that happening? Maybe it's a sitting one. It looks the same as my other one, but never mind. Let's have
Mal, someone's asking for the grid address of the Druscus, the zone.
Oh, I'm not entirely sure offhand, but I mean, if you look on OpenSim World, all you need to do is look up zone nations. So that's ZONE, and then nations, as in countries,
Okay.
and that's the actual name of the grid. Um, so yeah, these bits I'm doing film of at the moment are from two different parts of that. If Justice had actually made it to the show, we'd have obviously been looking in more detail at all that.
I'll put the
But
link into the
yeah,
YouTube chat.
this is very different from Synthetica's gallery, but I mean, same ethos seems to apply here. All these things are just there for people to take. In this case, it's builds, buildings and like tennis court, So nations, yeah. It's a relatively small grid from what I remember. So usually the best way to do these things is just land on the grid, and then in the grid search, just type somebody's. Often all you got to do is type Druscus, and it will find it, even if you don't know the second name. That's one of the. Imagine doing that in somewhere like Second Life. Find Fred for me. Oh, here, look at the moves. Look at the moves here. They are something else. Ah, sorry. I don't normally do this, but how about meteorite? I'll tell you the reason I once and picked up all these things is, oh, come on. It's taken a while to actually move in. Um, we were looking for good animations for the Hypergrid International Expo. Just decent stands and not dances actually, but stands and walks and things to add to the ambience of people coming up onto the stage and things like that. God, it says stop, but it's not running. I love these things. This is OpenSim for you. You press a button and it really doesn't want to play them for me, does it?
Well, animations have a priority, and so if your animation overrides your dancing animation, you won't be able to see it.
Oh, oh yes, this one's something. Tosha, it looks like. Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, where people have done these, they've actually motion captured in the motion capture rig, and unlike a lot of Inworld animations that last for 5 seconds and then repeat, a lot of these ones have whole sequences, that. God, wish I could move like that in real life. I suppose that's half the fun of it, isn't it? But yes, I forget. It wasn't donations as far as I know. But yeah, we did come across one place which literally had all these mocaps there for free. Anyway, I'll now sit down and behave. I love the way I can play them in World, and then I automatically sit down afterwards, so I don't have to change the menu. Yeah.
Well,
So,
Mel, are we going to need the wolf to appear today?
I was just not really. I don't think. There's 3 minutes left of this film, and I can't think of anything else. I've actually got one other region with Lanope, which I've had around for a while, which I thought I would show at some point. And we got a video called "The Englishman in New York." It's a cover of the Sting song with an avatar, but it may. The trouble is with machinimas, you can never be quite sure whether they were filmed in OpenSim or one of the other places. But actually, I make exceptions in machinima because the art is the machinima. So.
Mel Cherry just calls you sexy. While you were dancing, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. Oh, that took long enough. Yeah, some of them are rather. Somebody should throw. I bet you charge a lot of money for it, but somebody should throw Mick Jagger into a motion capture suit. I'd go for that. Even if he's 10 years older than me now, he still does it. Yeah, all this stuff. Plenty of club sort of material there. It might have been. I don't know if you noticed. There was a cleverly designed bit there a minute ago, which is a sort of entrance that then goes into a whole underground bit. And I think there are stores underground too. But I say, since Cherry is here, does Cherry recognise any of these pieces that earlier on? They certainly looked a bit like hers.
Well, before we get carried away with other things, I really want to say thank you to Synthetica and to Fergus again for the insights and for their fantastic work. And you be sure to see me around there soon.
Mm.
Mm.
Or maybe one day we'll talk them into talking voice and have them.
Yeah, yeah, that would
Because
be
actually that's, although I film in camera mode, as you know, to get things done quickly, so we've got something to show. I mean, it's always fun to actually get some film where you're walking around on the ground and experiencing, it all from that different viewpoint. But that tends to be a longer visit. So
well, and in the case of Synthetica and Fergus, I guess it's not the problem that they don't speak English properly, because that has been
Scott,
lately a couple of times a problem with people that were showing up or that I asked to show up in the Inward review, and they said that they write English but they cannot speak it very well.
yes, yeah, they've got genuine excuses. Yeah.
So I
But
want to take,
I mean, Scottish is pretty close to English, isn't it?
yeah, almost.
Okay, okay, he's a bunny wee laddie.
Well,
That's
and
what my grandmother used to say. Okay, he's a bunny wee okay, he's a bunny wee laddie.
Yep. Synthetica just typed that.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. So I couldn't see her typing it, so she recognised the phrase.
Yep.
It's
Ye
about the
hacky
only
whack
phrase,
it.
the only phrase I can do. Long time ago.
oh my God, I can't even read that,
Yeah.
much less say it. But by that, I will take the occasion to really fast advertise a thing that we're planning to do. That is Shirana Oshimoshi, that was here
Oh, yeah.
last week or the week before last. I don't remember.
Sure.
And
Yeah, oh, yeah, I can never pronounce it.
and
Yeah.
she writes practically a perfect English, but she has problems talking it, speaking it. So we have decided to make a circle for people that are interested in OpenSim to learn just to speak English a little better. So just an informal meeting every Monday. We want to start next week. Not this coming, but the next Monday. We want to start it, an informal meeting at a place in Craft. I will write about it in Facebook and also in the Craft places. So people can come if they feel like it to just learn a little more to pronounce English. And it would be great to have some what do you call it, mother language speakers.
Oh,
Yeah.
native language. Me, you mean?
Actually, well,
Oh, I know.
well,
Yeah, native.
uh,
Yeah, because you, when I learned, well, I didn't ever succeed really in learning any French, to be honest. That came with bande dessinées much later. But when I was back at school, for 1 year, I was a demo for an audio-visual French sort of course, which never took off. So we never took the exam. It was abandoned after a year. So it wasn't entirely wasted though, because the whole thing involved a kind of in situ talking and going into the boulangerie and asking for whatever the hell they sell in boulangeries, and getting a reply. And because it was visual too, what little French I know actually it came from that rather than from any textbook of translating words. It was just the sound, of part of it was mimicking the sound you heard when you knew what the words meant, you know. And it was quick. You did pick up things very quickly. Probably not enough variety, but for essential things, you know. But I'm terrible. I still know how to ask for somebody on the telephone in French. But if they answer in French, I haven't got a clue. The same with asking the way, you know, to somewhere in France, and I get the question right. I just don't understand the answer. Duh. I digress a bit there. Oh, this extra final bit of film we're looking at, by the way, is a region. Um, it's called Lanopye, Lanopye, and I think this may have been on OS Grid too, because all I've got on the film here is the actual region name. But always good to have something to look at and whatever while we're talking.
Looks pretty lovely.
So, any idea where we'll hold this language thing? Maybe you reckon Mondays and just a venues a craft? Did you say? Or?
Yeah, it will be in Craft. Um, Shirana has a region there where she has a little building that's called Cafe de Amici or something like that. Well, the Friends Coffee. It is,
All right, yeah.
or place. And there she and some others do the same for Italian. They have an informal meeting to learn to get more fluent in Italian speaking.
Sure.
And I joined that for a while, but oof, I had too many other things on my head
Yeah,
because I can read and write by the time after so many years of craft pretty pretty well Italian, but I cannot speak it. When I speak it, it comes in the Spanish comes into its way, and I have a tendency to pronounce everything in Spanish.
Yeah, yeah.
So it gets a very strange mixture.
I'm
And
the same
but
with what.
we'll try that with English because it's true. A lot of people also that I know, they do read and write English rather fluently, but they lack the experience of talking. So we'll be doing that. Just to know, and when I have the text and everything, well, next week I will give you a closer roundup about that. Okay?
You know, something we could do, I could work on this as a project with you actually, is we'd have to find somewhere to build it and nothing elaborate, but like build a typical sort of a few little English sets, you know, like shops or a library or something like that, and actually have people role play in voice to get used to the things. So you know, you might have a virtual library, and somebody wants to go in and ask the librarian for a book, you know, so they could practice that using real English, but using their avatar to actually perform all the actions.
Mm.
You see what I mean? Or that might just be too complicated. It just seems that visual cue for learning languages is there. And as an adult, back when I was involved with comic books, I was a big fan of what they call bande dessinée, which are the mature French comic strip albums. You know, nothing like the American crap. And I used to pick those up in France, and I collected them principally because of the artwork. But having bought them, I then thought, well, I've got to read them too. So I would slowly but surely pick up from the word balloons things that I see something once, then twice, and things that, oh, that must mean such and such because I've seen it in three different places, and I would actually put two and two together to figure out what half the words meant. Just by reading the speech balloons, and because the picture would tell the other half of the story for me. But
Oh yes, that's well. When I moved with my family to Germany, we never spoke German, even though our nationality, my mother and my brother and I, is German. But we never spoke German at home. And so we kids did not know anything about German. So, and as I was also as a kid, I read everything in sight, everything I could get my hands on. So I got some German books, well, more or less kids' books, but and I just read them without translation, without anything. I just stoically, page after page after page. And when I got tired of it, I started reading Asterix in German.
Yes, that's oh yeah.
And that explained a lot. But really, I did that about a year, and then of course, the surrounding and the schooling and everything was German too. But that helped me a lot. After that time, I could really speak German fluently. And it's now the only language more or less that I speak with more or less without more accent.
Yeah.
Everything else, I have a horrible accent, but German is
Well, it's
almost
not
free of
horrible.
accent.
You have an accent for sure, but it's not horrible. It's
Oh, I
like
find it
hearing.
horrible. If I hear
We
myself
we
somewhere,
all we all hate the sound of our own voices. When I play back stuff, even nowadays, I'm so used to it.
well, that's what Fergus just commented too when I was saying that about learning the English. He said he commented, some of us simply not like to hear our own voice, and he said in any language for that matter.
But the trick there is not to record it, or rather, not to play it back. But
Yeah, yeah, but well, I don't mind the sound of my voice, but that accent is horrible, really.
I, I'm so used to hearing my own voice played back now that I still can't believe it's mine because
Mm,
it's not related to the sound that I hear through my
of
vote.
uh, of course.
But I'll tell you a very interesting story. Just yesterday, was it? Yeah, yesterday. Yes, Saturday morning. Yeah, I tuned into a live video cast from a comic strip convention up in the Lake District, right?
Hmm.
And the particular bit, it got to a particular bit that I found was a bit boring. It wasn't it's probably American comics or something. But I left it running while I was doing other things, and then in the background, and then suddenly I heard my voice,
Oh,
and I couldn't figure out where was it. Am I playing an in-world review or something? If I accidentally put a replay on, and I couldn't figure this out at all until I realised that it was actually a guy on the city at this comics convention who
oh,
has his voice sounded just like my voice when I hear it recorded.
oh, funny. Yeah.
I actually thought I was playing back one of my own shows because his voice is just like you are hearing mine, not I'm hearing it.
Mm.
And so it was very uncanny. It was quite endearing actually. I thought, God, I'm not the only person with that awful voice. There's another
Yeah.
guy.
You have a double somewhere.
Yeah, he didn't look like me. He was, but yeah, he
A,
sounded like.
a voice double.
Well, he was an interviewer. He was doing sort of my thing,
Mm.
except he was talking more to the audience than some cartoonist, I think. But yeah, but it was definitely it was definitely my recorded voice. So I thought, if I'd actually been on a panel with him, like a podcast or something, and people listen to it, I bet you they wouldn't notice the difference in our two voices. They were that close. It's just mannerisms and the tonal side of it and everything. This is cute, isn't it? There's a bug in there. A couple of minutes, some more magazines. This, as I said, is a region called Lanopy, Lanopye. I'm sure that if you type that into OpenSim World, it will find it for you because they list regions as well as grids. And yeah, I should give a plug there for OpenSim World. For those of you who don't know it, it's just it's on the web, and not a limited number of people use it. I mean, it's popular with OS Grid, it's popular with some grids. There are other grids that just don't seem to have entries on it at all. But um, it's less of a friends network as a sort of location network. They tell you about regions and events basically, and
Mm.
you can open up a personal account. But it's often it for you can't in OpenSim in a certain other place. You used to be able to open the map and look at sort of great big congregations of green dots, and you would know something was busy, and you wanted to stick your nose in. So you double clicked on the green dots and teleported to wherever this gang was happening. And so you would find events, but that had people in them just by those green dots. But assuming on the map you could find somewhere close to where your starting point. That doesn't really exist. The system exists in OpenSim, but you can't look at the green dots on one grid while they're still on another grid, and
Mm.
it's much more difficult to find the things where things are happening. So OpenSim World, oddly enough, is they do an RSS feed too, but that's probably the thing they're most effective at. Sort of I get the feed notifications coming up in Discord. In fact, every half an hour or so, and it just tells me what's happening in OpenSim. Mostly dance parties and music clubs and shopping places. But the stuff that I'm not actually particularly interested in. But I mean, at least it works. So it's very good. And you can always copy the box on the web, and it immediately gives you the Hypergrid address. You then come in World, you paste it on the map. You're
Mm.
probably already in World, in fact. You paste it on the map, teleport, and you're there. So it's quick and effective. So it's for those of you who don't know it, it's a really underrated service, really, when you think about it. Open Sim World, it's called. Also coming up, I haven't any more news on the OS Fest that it will be happening shortly, but no doubt that will come through. The woman Cheryl or Sherin, I think, is in charge of
Yeah,
that.
that's a cool URL. I use it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. So OS Fest, by the way, I was just thinking of news. We haven't got any more news from that. There's also been I didn't get to it. They always seem to send it me. I think it's on Friday or Saturday when I'm otherwise engaged. But the people between the Open Sim Worlds Fair, which is going to be happening next year, are having regular meetings. I think it's Friday. Can't be sure. Um, and I think it's all. I think it's on. I was about to say Great Canadian Grid. Wolf Territories Grid, as far as I know. But yeah, I'll keep you informed in that. Those are both events that are still in the future. Though OS Fest is going to be fairly near. And also not too far away, we have the Open Sim Community Conference, which is a sort of more serious, slightly education biased, not totally, but sort of event there. And I've been asked to do maybe something on promoting HIE there, but I'll figure that out. Yeah, so James and Tosha, any other questions for our chatty people in the chat audience? Actually, if nothing else, or
Not
any
that
other
I'm seeing.
comments? Any other comments for the week?
No, not
Things
for me.
we've
Mm.
things things I
Mm.
forgot.
Mm. The only thing I can say is like, well, I can only repeat myself that I will go visit the region of Synthetica,
Yeah,
even though I have difficulties pronouncing her name.
I believe she's happy to be called synth,
Okay.
as in musical instruments. I guess is that right, synth? Oh, actually, of course, that
Oh,
She
okay.
said yes.
that
Very
sounds
good.
like
Yes.
short for
Yes. Very
Cynthia
good.
too, but that's a completely different name, Cynthia. But yeah, synth. Why not?
Then that's fine.
Anybody
Okay.
who's a fan of music can remember
It's a
that
little easier then, and yes, that I will visit the region and I'm sure I will have great fun and be very interested there. It's
Yeah,
such an astonishing place.
yeah. And I'll be back there too, as I say, to take a deeper look. You know, when there's more time, rather than
Yeah, yeah,
the quick aerial guide I did there. You know, do a bit of walking. I'm sure there's things I missed there which you can just never capture on camera.
yeah. And maybe we can really convince her and Fergus or her alone to come in persona to the show. That would be really great.
Yeah. Well, it's up to them, really. I do fully understand where, I mean, obviously, as you say, people who don't speak English well enough sort of get nervous about it, but, you know, I completely understand, the different reasons people have. Don't
Well,
think, I don't think,
whatever reasons, it's to be
there was a chap,
respected for sure.
there's a
But
chap, I can't remember his name in Second Life. He was a very senior person at IBM. And IBM at the time had a sort of outpost in Second Life. In fact, they helped with the original Gridnaughts, where you teleported out of Second Life into an IBM server. But he had to do one of those big speeches as his avatar at one point, and he came on, and he was like a sort of totally evocative female avatar. But he also had a very distinct male voice, and
I,
this was
I,
IBM. This was an IBM online conference.
that is funny because I know a guy also, a German. In he's not in OpenSim anymore or in Virtual World anymore, but he also has a very female avatar, and then he spoke like this. It was really shocking at first, and that was in a time that I was not so so familiar with all the different aspects of OpenSim, let's say.
There's also a very well-known character in Second Life, I dare say, called Prokofy Never, who used to have but I don't think he does his blog anymore, but he used to rabbit on and go on and, typing at the speed of light and really gruff and taking, nice review. And I always assumed, because of the mannerisms and everything, that he was a guy.
Mm,
But I had her on the show, or a show once, and well, several times thereafter, actually. But I discovered not only that it was a woman, and
mm,
it's very hard for me to believe that a woman would be that like a man in text, but somehow was.
mm,
But also, she had the sweetest voice.
mm,
So reading her, you thought this is a really angry person who shouts and is really forceful, and on the paper she was, but on the audio she was a different personality completely. Very soft spoken, quite hesitant, not and it's just funny, it's almost too, and she didn't hide it, but it's just the voice persona and the speed typist loudmouth just didn't gel at all.
mm.
Anyway, that was the stories we have to tell. Anyway, that piece of film is finished. Nothing else to show today, I think. So we better start the obligatory wrap up if none of us have got anything else to say. Thank you indeed for sort of half being here to Synthetico and Fergus, if you're still there. Waves. And of course, my thanks to wonderful co-host Tosha Tyran. Thank you, Tosha.
You're welcome, Mel.
And to the right-hand man, amongst other things, James Atlloud. Thank you, James.
Oh, how dramatic. Oh, well, thank you, Mel, for bringing us together.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you to myself too. So, okay, yeah, goodbye from me as well. I wish you all a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, or indeed a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And for now, it's a wrap. See you next week.